Hi, my name's Darryl Speicher and I'm with the Pocono Avian Research Center at the Pocono Heritage Land Trust. And today I'm here at the Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge enjoying birds. Winter is a great time to come out to the Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge to do some birding. Out earlier today and found a pair of horned larks here in the valley, and that was pretty exciting. Not a bird that you're going to see every day, and certainly not a bird we're going to see around here in the spring or summer. They have winter finches still here, pine siskins, red poles. If we're really lucky and we have an eruptive year where crossbills show up, either red or white-winged crossbills. On the creek now we could still have common mergansers, but wood ducks are starting to come back. It's late enough in winter or early enough in the spring, either way you want to look at it, that the wood ducks are starting to come back on the water. Blackbird migration has started, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the true harbinger of spring. No matter how hard the winter gets, if you want to know that spring is right around the corner, you wait for the blackbirds. So red-winged blackbirds are starting to show up. I had my first rusty blackbird in quite a while under the feeders at my house today. So blackbirds are starting to come. March is also a great season for the red-shouldered hawks, and you'll hear them just piercing, screeching. It's one of my favorite sounds of spring in the red-shouldered hawk. One of the other really fun things about a site like the Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge is the potential for eruptive winter raptors. Things like snowy owls or gyrfalcons or rough-legged hawks. This is ideal habitat for them because they are coming from a region of tundra. They're coming from the Arctic tundra, and when those years that they do come down here, and it's not every year, but when they do show up here, this is exactly what they're looking for. They're not looking for a heavily forested site. They want this open land like we have here at Cherry Valley, and so the opportunities for snowy owls and rough-legged hawks. I have seen rough-legged hawks in the Cherry Valley, not right here on the refuge, but nearby. And I have seen snowy owls in Monroe County, again, not right here at the refuge, but very close by, and so that opportunity is here. And I can't always make predictions when it comes to things like birds, but I would say that sometime in the next 5 years or a decade, there will be either a snowy owl or a rough-legged hawk is going to show up here at the Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge. So we do have some real small songbirds that overwinter here. And we think, well, the birds have to go to the tropics to survive the cold of winter. But then you look around, if you really take time to look around, you notice we have golden-crowned kinglets and we have brown creepers, which look like little wrens that just make their way up the tree trunks. They never go down like the nuthatches. The nuthatches, the chickadees, the titmice. Well, how is it that they can survive these cold, harsh conditions of winter around here? Well, they do have a couple advantages for staying here in the winter, and one is that their primary food resources are available. Like mammals, birds are endothermic, warm-blooded. They generate their own body heat. But they have to eat a lot in order to maintain that body heat. And so at night, many of them are able to do what's referred to as torpor, or a mini cyclical daily hibernation. So the birds will settle down for the night. And if you have bird feeders, you know this, like just before it gets real twilight, all of a sudden there's no activity at your feeders anymore. They're finding shelter. They're in some cases, when we have deep snow like we had this winter, they can actually get in at the base of shrubs and stuff and hide down under the snow. In other cases, they go into tree cavities, and then their bodies just shut down as if they were going to hibernate. Respiration slows down, heart rate slows down, body temperature drops. Every night they go through this. In the morning, their metabolism picks up, heart rate picks up, respiration picks up, and then they have another day foraging for enough energy to make it through the following night. So that's how these birds are able to do it. One other really interesting thing about birds in winter, how they keep their feet warm. I'm sure you've looked at geese or gulls or other songbirds standing on the ice, or in the case of waterfowl, bobbing in the water, and you think, well, they've got the insulated feathers, the water's cold, but they've got the insulated. But what about these bare feet, uninsulated feet? Well, they actually have a really interesting anatomy in that in their legs, the veins and the arteries run adjacent to each other. And so what happens is that the cold blood that's coming back from the feet is being warmed by the blood that's leaving the body. So that by the time that blood re-enters the body, it's not as cold as it was while it was in their feet. And at the same time, the blood that's leaving the body, that may be as much as 100 degrees Fahrenheit, because that's their body temperature, is being cooled before it gets all the way down to their toes, so that it's not as dramatic a change when it finally gets to their feet. And that's how they're able to stand out on the ice all day, or perch on a limb that's been coated in ice when we had a freezing rain. So they have really interesting anatomies, as well as the need to be able to find enough food to maintain metabolism throughout the winter. In the weeks to come, migration is only going to get better. Things are going to start to pick up. We'll start to see fox sparrows and towhees returning, savanna sparrows. They'll all be moving through. Chipping sparrows will return to breed here. Field sparrows will come back. After the sparrows, then the thrushes. We'll have hermit thrushes and Swainson's thrushes, and the bluebirds will return to the nesting boxes. And then before you know it, migration in full swing. And we'll have the warblers and the vireos and the tanagers and the orioles, and it's all starting right now. Cherry Valley, with the reclaimed old fairways, is ideal habitat now to go out and watch for the courtship display of the American Woodcock. And I just cannot recommend enough that if you're a birder or not, if you just have any interest at all in life and the natural world, you have got to take the opportunity at some point to go out and catch the sky dance of the American woodcock, or the timber doodle as it's affectionately known. Males will come out into these scrubby secondary growth, these meadows that are coming back. They spend the days foraging in the wet woods around them, and they come out into these open fields at sunset to dance. And they do the dance in the sky, not on the ground. And they announce their presence, beep, really loud on the ground, and then you'll hear them, the wind whistling in their wings as they take off. And they're climbing in a circle higher and higher in the sky. And then you hear them dive back to earth. And if you're fortunate enough to watch it, they're dropping and twisting and turning. And then they land on the ground again. And you wonder, is it over? Beep. No, they're going to go again. And you have another opportunity to catch the sky dance. Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge is a fantastic site for that. But remember, Refuge closes at sunset. So you can't stay too late for sky dance, woodcock sky dance. It's a good idea to have a pair of binoculars. Binoculars aid in bringing the birds closer to you so that you can see them. And this allows you the opportunity then to see if there are certain distinguishable things about those birds so you can identify them. There are a lot of birds out there that are very similar to each other, and so you might look down the creek here, down Cherry Creek, off of one of the footbridges, and you'll say, well, I don't know, are those female mallards or are they American black ducks? An American black duck is a bird you definitely have the opportunity to see here. Certainly not as common as mallards, but without the binoculars, you may not be able to make that distinction from the distance that you're seeing those birds. Or is it a house finch or a purple finch? So the binoculars are going to bring the birds closer and give you the ability to see if there are any of those distinguishing characteristics that they may have. How you know what those distinguishing characteristics are then is bringing a field guide. There are many excellent field guides to the birds out there, birds of just the eastern United States. There's books just on the birds of Pennsylvania. There are books on the birds of all of North America. These are excellent resources. But if you don't want to lug around a book anymore, you can use your phone. There are apps where you can actually tape the sound that you're hearing and then get the phone to tell you what a possible bird that would make a sound like that might be. It's also nice to have some information on what you're likely to see when you visit a site there. Good idea to have an idea of what you should expect to find when you visit. So a checklist, any of them available to you through your smartphone. So that's really what you need. Do you need to bring binoculars and all that stuff? No, just come enjoy the birds. You can hear them sing, you can watch them fly. And so it's just an excellent way to spend time outside at such a beautiful place like the Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge. As part of the Pocono Avian Research Center at the Pocono Heritage Land Trust, PARCA PHLT is now involved in long-term research on the birds, the breeding birds here at Cherry Valley National Wildlife Refuge. For the last 3 seasons, we've been operating a map station here, monitoring avian productivity and survivorship. And right from the get-go, we've learned some really exciting things about Cherry Valley and the work that the Fish and Wildlife Service has done now that they're here in reclaiming what was once a golf course, restoring it to natural habitats. We've already seen a change in bird populations, and then along with the Friends of Cherry Valley group, been involved in a Blitz. And the point of the bird Blitz is just to send volunteers, just people passionate about birds and passionate about understanding a place like Cherry Valley, to go out. And we actually use the old cart paths as designated observation routes for the bird Blitz. And we have one 24-hour day where people go out and they just scout refuge for birds. And we've done that now for 5 years. And that too is something that's starting to show us some very interesting results about what's happening here with the reclamation process and going from full out manicured golf course to now reclaimed natural habitat. And it's very exciting stuff. One of the real interesting things that we're discovering in the conversion, in the changeover process from the once completely manicured landscape to a more natural environment is increase in biodiversity. Manicured lawn fairways may be beneficial for just a handful of organisms. And when we look at the bird community, you might say, well, yeah, we often saw a lot of robins. Robins love lawn. That's perfect habitat for them. But it's not going to be habitat for meadowlarks and bobolinks and field sparrows and all these other birds that are going to take advantage of this habitat. But the other really exciting thing is the diversity growth that we're seeing in the edge. So not just the reclaimed fairways and greens and tees and bunkers, but the edge that existed between the once fairway and now the natural meadow habitat. That edge community is becoming more diverse. There are birds that want to take advantage of that meadow habitat but have access to the cover of the shrub line at the edge of the forest. And then as you go deeper into the forest, there's not a lot of real deep forest around the refuge here, but that edge then extends into the forest too. And so we're seeing an increase in diversity, not just in the direct habitat that's being back to a natural community, but we're seeing diversity change even in the edge of the forest adjacent to that. And that is very exciting.